It feels like we've been waiting forever to say it, but it is officially game week. Eagles versus Cowboys on a Thursday night to open up the NFL season. Today we get some huge updates at practice regarding injuries and availability. You don't want to miss what they had to say. Also, Nick Sirianni gives us the team's mindset as they look to enter a new campaign and put the Super Bowl behind them. And we finally get some answers to a couple of the final positional battles that have been ongoing. All that and more coming up right here on A to Z Philly. But welcome on into the show. I'm RB. Let's go, man. I am so pumped. I am stoked. I know it is a weekend, a Sunday night, and we are on a short week and it's Labor Day. But if you're an Eagles fan and you're not locked in right now, I need you to wake up and get ready to go because it is week one. No, the rivalry doesn't feel the same as usual because the Cowboys are a laughingstock and they're a joke and they stink. But I am fully expecting the Birds to go out there and put a beating on the Dallas Cowboys after they hang their championship banners right in front of them. And I am so pumped up. We're going to talk about the matchup as we go throughout this week. But ladies and gentlemen, let's start it off with an update from the first practice of a game week today. Quinyon Green promoted to the 53-man roster. He was bumped up and Terrace Marshall was sent back to the practice squad. So what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe they want to add some more depth, or maybe they're going to need them on the offensive line just in case. But then again, we get another update here at practice today, and look who it is. The guy, what was it, 3 weeks ago, who had an injury and had a surgery, was out there chugging Miller Lights the next day at joint practice. This guy's an absolute dog. Landon Dickerson, who has had the knee injury, looks like a full go. Eagles left guard trending towards playing in the opener despite surgery several weeks ago. As you see, he's got this kind of compression knee sleeve on. This guy looks like he's ready to play, and he is one of the most consistent, dominant forces on that offensive line. He doesn't get talked about enough, and he needs to be out there. I hope he is, and I hope he's healthy, so shout out to Landon Dickerson. But the more important storyline and the question that we've had all offseason was the corner and the safety. And as Caden Steele says here at Eagles practice today, Adoree Jackson and Sidney Brown, likely the starters at CB2 and safety on Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. There is Sidney Brown. We have Adoree Jackson. Now, do you think they'll be the long-term starters? I don't know. But what we do know is that these guys are back out there, and the other guys are getting reps, are practicing, right? Here is Andrew Mukuba, who's had a couple injuries so far in preseason and training camp. He had a helmet on today. He took part in at least a portion of practice, according to Elliott Shore-Parks. Here is Andrew Mukuba out there. Is he 100%? Probably not, but he'll work his way back. He'll get there. You know, Vic Fangio will find his place. Even if it has to be Sidney and Adoree Jackson for week one, I don't feel like I'm terrified of the Dallas Cowboys. Sure, they might put up 20, 25 points, but their defense might give up 40 to this Eagles offense, which now has another year of continuity together and just gelled so much last year. Nick Sirianni was also asked if Marcus Epps can actually get up to speed and play in week one if needed. He says, quote, "We'll see. He's a really sharp guy. I've always thought that of Marcus. He'll do everything he can do. And we've got great coaches with Christian Parker and Joe Casper to help him get caught up. We'll see where he is by the time we get here to this game and moving forward." And he also says that in the process of re-signing Marcus Epps, Reed Blankenship went and really advocated for him and talked about how he helped him develop as a pro. And that's huge. You know, Epps started in the Super Bowl, then he left. Reed became the guy. That's really cool that Reed went out there and put in a good word for Marcus Epps. So we might see Marcus Epps. We might see Mukuba. Jacorian Bennett continues to get reps at practice, and apparently he finally switched his number to number 23, which I guess gives him some cool points, right? Maybe it'll make him play better. I don't know. 23 is a great number. But at the end of the day, the biggest update of them all, as we move into week one, will A.J. Brown play? He was asked that question in his interview today, and he says, quote, "Hell yeah." Ladies and gentlemen, A.J. Brown will be on the field for week one. I can't stress how important this is. Yes, the Eagles have all these great weapons, right? Saquon and Devontae and Dallas Goedert and even Will Shipley and all these other guys. And Jalen on the ground as well. But AJ's just a different breed, right? And I know the Cowboys signed Ron Bland today, and they have Trevon Diggs and all these other guys. I don't care. Nobody can stop AJ one-on-one. It is hard enough to begin with when you have to guard a receiver like A.J. Brown. And when he's out there and he's healthy, right, you don't want to like tweak anything or send him out there 80% healthy and have him get re-injured. If they're throwing him out here week 1, they think he's good to go and they think he's 100%. And with A.J. Brown on the field, your team has double, triple, quadruple the amount of firepower on the field. That's the type of impact he makes. He may be, a quiet guy at sometimes. He may be the loudest guy in the room at sometimes. He may come off as like, I don't care. A.J. Brown's a baller, and he's going to go out there and put his best foot forward. So to have A.J. back in this game against the Cowboys, I can already see him going for 100, $120, and 2 touchdowns. Now, overall, the Eagles still do have, right, a few questions. And we said, Adoree Jackson and Sidney Brown are probably going to be the week 1 guys. But as John McMullen elaborates on here, the Eagles have 3 quote-unquote slash positions entering week 1. Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett, Jahad Campbell and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Reed Blankenship opposite of him, Sidney Brown and Drew Mukuba. But you see what he says down here at the end. Expect Jackson, due to Bennett's late arrival, Campbell and Brown to be the week 1 starters. However, eventually the Eagles do want it to be Jacorian Bennett, Jahad Campbell, and Andrew Mukuba. I think Jahad Campbell has already earned the job. He's going to be the starter probably all season. We'll see what happens when Nakobe comes back. Could create a little bit of a confusing dynamic there, but Jacorian Bennett is the guy they want to nurture into that role, right? They wanted it to be Keely Ringo. The younger, cheaper option didn't work out. Now they want it to be Jacorian Bennett. So we have our answer in that eventually, I don't know, week 4, 5, whatever it is, it will be Jacorian Bennett. But the question is, how quick can he develop? He's looked pretty good in his reps so far. And same thing with Andrew Mukuba. They drafted him in the 2nd round to start year 1, to play now. Otherwise, they would not have gotten rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And yes, they like Sidney Brown, but he doesn't do that much in terms of flash, right? He's okay. He's good. But they think Mukuba can eventually be great. He can be that successor to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So we finally have our answers. We know what they want. Let's hear from Nick Sirianni in terms of these week 1 battles. He says, quote, I think it's unsettling to the outside world, but we got it pretty much settled in here. I'm just not sharing that information quite yet. So Nick Sirianni says, look, we're good. We know who's going to play. We know where they're going to be. We know what we're trying to do. We're continually bringing guys along. We're just not sharing that info yet. So later this week, I would expect us or the reporters, seeing how these practices go to give us more detailed information. But so far, it seems like they have a pretty good base on where we're at. Nick Sirianni also talked about Adoree Jackson, who's expected to start in week 1, by saying he is always in the hip pocket of guys and close to the catch point. I also think he has a good knack for the football. He has the ability to shadow receivers and will need that this week against a really good receiver corps. And like I said, we're going to talk about this matchup in a few days and really break it down, but he's right. Like if I look at the Dallas Cowboys and I'm like, what is the one part of their team, the one group that I think could put some fear into the Eagles? It is the wide receiver core. They have quick, speedy, agile receivers that can move all around, that could probably do some things after the catch. So this is going to be a big test for Adoree Jackson. I fully expect Quinyon and Coop to lock down, but Adoree Jackson cannot become a target early in this game. Dak Prescott might be injury prone and he might be old, but one thing is for sure, in the regular season, when he wants to have a pretty good game, he can have a pretty good game. Now, you could also counter that by saying, who the heck's going to run the football for the Dallas Cowboys? But if they start this game early and they're throw, and they see that Adoree Jackson can't really hold up his end of the bargain, they might target him for the entire game. So that is going to be something to watch immediately right out of the gate. But Nick Sirianni has high praise for a guy like Adoree Jackson. And last but not least, in terms of Nick Sirianni and the team's mindset, they were talking to Jordan Mailata, and he says that Nick Sirianni showed the team a visual of a car with the Super Bowl in the rearview mirror earlier in the offseason, and that really has kind of dictated the Eagles' mindset. We had the Super Bowl. We were a historic team. We were fully dominant. Nobody could touch us, but now it's behind us. It's in the rearview mirror, and it is hard to kind of separate when you think about these guys' schedules and how they train and how it really just comes up quick but slow at the same time. Like, we're here. This is a new season. You're all 0-0. You got to look ahead. Despite whatever happened last year, it's now a new season. And I think that's actually a really good visual, as much as people give Nick Sirianni crap for his analogies and his metaphors and things like that. I think it's pretty spot on. Last but not least, Jordan Mailata on how the plans change for the Eagles without Micah Parsons. Quote, there's a lot. I'm going to be honest, a lot. 11's a pretty good bleeping player. 11's a great player. We always have protection plans built in for a great player. Now we have to figure out the players that they have on defense. Can we stop them? It changes a lot. He added, quote, they have great players and a great scheme. That's a dangerous defense. And just to add on top of that, everybody's talking about this Cowboys trade, and they got Kenny Clark, who's 30 years old, coming off one of his worst years. But nonetheless, he still has to learn a new playbook as well and a new defense. So who's to say he's even going to be ready for week one? But it seems like Jordan Mailata almost tried to do damage control here. Like, he was pretty much saying, look, Mike is the guy. He's probably a future Hall of Famer, and we were game planning for him. But now that he's out of the equation, it gets a little bit easier for us. You know what I mean? It's not easy. He said they have great players and a great team, and Matt Eberflus and guys like that who are, calling plays and stuff. But, it's going to be a lot different. These guys are ready to go all off season. The one thing that I've really picked up on from listening to these guys talk and the way they've acted is they are not carrying over last season at all. They are ready to start fresh, start new. They know the work it takes that they have to put in to get back to the Super Bowl and win it, and they're ready to dominate again and really prove to everybody why they are a good team again and why they can do it and not just get a ton of credit and success without, putting in the work first. So I'm super pumped. Give me your thoughts. Give me your inclinations. How are you feeling ahead of Eagles and Cowboys week one? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.